Over the years, the federal government of Nigeria has sustained entrepreneurial development through interventions by MDAs, including the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Ministry of Trade and Investment, the Central Bank of Nigeria, Development Bank of Nigeria, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency, SMEDAN, Bank of Industry, and the Bank of Agriculture to fast-track economic growth while generating employment for a multitude of different areas of trade and investment opportunities. Today, an estimated 39.65 million micro and small businesses in Nigeria, employing about 87.9% of the labor force, contribute 43.31% to Nigeria's gross domestic product, GDP. In order to underscore the theme and look at the areas including providing access to capital, ease of doing business, and several other critical activities, Weekend File looks at areas of accomplishments by millions who have benefited from the interventions, the criteria to benefit from the schemes, challenges, and the way forward. That's our outlook on Weekend File tonight, and Chima Achu, an entrepreneur, will join me live in the studio, while Obina Urakwa, also an entrepreneur and a public speaker, joins us from our Lagos Network Center. I'm Yan Ray John. Thank you for joining us. But first, the news. Governor Aminu Bello Masari of Katsina State has thrown his weight behind the new Naira notes policy of the federal government, describing it as critical to the nation's economic well-being. This was while speaking to newsmen after an audience with President Muhammadu Buhari in Daura. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
This is a private visit to the Daura residence of President Muhammadu Buhari by the Katsina State Governor and his entourage. It, however, provided an opportunity for discussions on critical issues affecting the state and indeed the country. And after the closed-door engagement that lasted more than 1 hour, Governor Aminu Bello Masari told newsmen that the new Naira notes policy endorsed by President Muhammadu Buhari is a welcome development.
In fact, it will help the economy. Now, all the money that has not been in the banking sector. And if you had the governor of Central Bank was saying, just I think when he was here, that over a trillion naira has been now in the banking sector that was touched in houses and in soccerways and some other places. And we believe by the end of this transition to the new currency, the remaining trillion will be back in the banking sector. I think it is very good for the economy.
So governors are happy about it?
It is, I am.
The governor used the opportunity to express appreciation to the president for the enhanced security situation across Katsina State.
You know, the president has given marching orders to security agencies, and we at the state government level have been providing all the logistic needs as much as we can to the members of security agencies. So I think from the report I have, there was a drastic drop in terms of kidnapping and cattle rustling. We don't have the kind of bandit attack we used to have.
And on the 2023 elections, Governor Aminu Bello Masari said Katsinawa, as the people are called, are ready to once again deliver to the governing APC.
Well, I think we will expect more votes for APC here in Katsina State. APC at national, state and local government level has done well in Katsina State. We have been able to touch lives of millions of people in Katsina State. We have been able to have projects in all the 361 wards of Katsina State. And you know, the social intervention has cut across. And now that we are in Daura, you have seen the federal government presence in terms of federal university, in terms of Air Force General Hospital, in terms of Federal Polytechnic, and many projects of urban renewal, urban development here in Daura and the surrounding communities. So APC has delivered in Katsina State, and certainly come elections of 2023, Katsina State will be for APC.
President Muhammadu Buhari also granted audience to a group of young Nigerians working assiduously towards the actualization of the governing All Progressives Congress, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu's 2023 presidential project. The group is led by the son of the candidate, Sheyi Tinubu.
Everything is looking very good. I feel the youths are starting to really understand better that there's only one candidate in this race, and that's Asiwaju Bola Tinubu.
Why Asiwaju?
Because there's only one man that's been tested, tried, and can be trusted. There's only one man who exhibits the styles of leadership that Nigeria needs. There's only one man that actually has the ability to take Nigeria, move Nigeria forward, and continue the work, and also build on the work that the current administration has already done. And come 2023, we have a new president by the name of Asiwaju Jagaban Bola Tinubu, by God's grace.
More personalities have continued to pour into the Daura residence of President Muhammadu Buhari on courtesy visits. From Daura, Katsina State, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
And away from Daura, President Muhammadu Buhari will on Sunday, December 11, depart for Washington, USA to join other African leaders at the United States Africa Leaders Summit. The high-level meeting, which holds December 13 to 15, is at the instance of the United States President Joe Biden, who looks forward to working with African governments, civil society, diaspora communities across the United States and the private sector to continue strengthening the shared vision for the future of U.S.-Africa relations. On the first day, President Buhari will speak on the topic conservation, climate adaptation and a just energy transition, dwelling directly on the just energy transition component. He will also address some of the other sub-themes of the summit, as well as participate in the U.S.-Africa Business Forum hosted by the U.S. Department of Commerce, which focuses on increased trade and investment between the United States and African nations. On the sidelines of the summit, the Corporate Council of Africa will host the Nigerian delegation to a U.S.-Nigeria Business and Investment Forum Business Roundtable, during which Nigerian organizations and businesses are expected to sign agreements with their American counterparts. President Buhari, who will be accompanied on the trip by governors Bala Muhammad and Abdul Razak of Bauchi and Kwara states, respectively. Some ministers and other top government officials are expected back in the country on Sunday, December 18. And now, looking at security, the fight against terrorism and maritime crimes needs the adoption of modern-day technology. The Nigerian Navy, therefore, is injecting additional 240 weapon engineers to its existing force. The Nigerian Naval Engineering College, SAPLE, in Delta State, was where the inauguration of the weapon engineers took place.
Nigeria's vast water domain spanning to the Gulf of Guinea is prone to sea piracy, crude oil theft, illicit drug trafficking, and other transborder crimes. To combat these threats sabotaging the nation's waterway, the Nigerian Navy in recent time acquired several state-of-the-art naval platforms and upgraded its stock to confront emerging security challenges. The injection of these 240 officers and rating from the Nigerian Naval Engineering College, Sapele Delta State, is geared towards effective maintenance of fleets and to reduce capital fright.
One of the key priorities of the Chief of the Naval Staff, indicated in the Strategic Directives 2021-5, is to build on the credible Nigerian Navy manpower development to achieve optimal professional capability of personnel in the Navy. We are on the right track at achieving one of these key priorities.
The specialists in naval weapon engineering, the commandant noted, are expected to further upskill the Nigerian Navy firepower and enlarge its rapid response capacity.
The technical manpower are key players in the tripod of naval engagements, that is, floating, movement, and fighting.
The Naval Engineering College was established in 1982 as a Navy technical training center.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the immediate disbursement of $350 million Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund, CVFF. Minister of Transportation Muazu Jaji Sambo said this in Lagos while flagging off the third phase of the Nigerian Seafarers Development Program, NSDP. Michael Olaleye reports that the move is aimed at developing indigenous shipping capacity of the country and will also increase the number of vessels flying the Nigerian flag.
It is another step in the right direction, focusing solely at becoming a maritime hub, globally known for the export of seafarers. And this ceremony, in furtherance of government's commitment towards advancing youth empowerment, signals the commencement of maritime training for these 400 new intakes after securing institutions for them in Greece and India. So far, 486 graduates of the National Seafarers Development Program are gainfully employed and sailing in both coastal and ocean-going vessels.
In line with the federal government policy,
the Minister of Transportation is optimistic that the job openings will keep increasing, with the cabotage regime emphasizing more indigenous participation, in which President Buhari's approval for immediate disbursement is a game changer.
We are going to continue to allow these funds to go into the Treasury single account. Whenever this money hits the threshold of $50 million, the Central Bank of Nigeria would give effect to the transfer of such funds to the primary lending institution. And in this regard, 5 primary lending institutions have been approved by Mr. President.
The Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, says 12 years experience garnered in the course of implementing the Seafarers Program has infused new ideas with the introduction of a code of conduct crucial to protecting the image of the country.
Any one of you found wanting by your institution, be rest assured, he will be deported back to the country and he will refund the taxpayers' money paid on his behalf.
The path to building a sustainable future for the training of seafarers locally has begun, as efforts are on to construct maritime training institutions in 6 geopolitical zones across the country. In Lagos, Michael Olaleye, NTA News.
Let's now talk politics. As the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the February 2023 general elections, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar says his rescue and recovery mission is anchored on the unity of Nigerians and the yearning for purposeful governance. The PDP candidate was speaking to supporters at the FCT Grand Rally of the party held at the Eagle Square, Abuja. Olotu Yakubu reports.
The campaign bus touched ground at the Eagle Square after stakeholders' interactive session in parts of the nation's capital. The senator representing the FCT in the National Assembly, Philip Aduda, led stalwarts, including the vice presidential candidate, Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, DG campaign, and Governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambuwal, National Chairman of the party, Senator Yocha Ayu, and others to galvanize support from the electorate.
The people of the FCT want to be part of government. The people of the FCT want a representation at the Federal Executive Council.
We have all decided as a country, particularly the youth of this country and the women, that we need to recover Nigeria and to rescue our people.
Like to bring security for this country. Like to bring education back the way it did before. Like to tell women alone.
We need somebody who has the capacity and experience to take the country out of the wood.
Then, the presidential candidate gave his teaming supporters his to-do list if given the mandate to lead the nation next year.
What you have demanded, which requires constitutional review, we assure you we will support that review to make sure your aspirations are protected or are guaranteed in our new constitution. The people of Abuja, before anybody feels the impact of government, you will be the first.
The presidential aspirant appealed to the PDP faithful to own the project and drive the message of goodwill through issue-based campaign for a better and prosperous Nigeria. In Abuja, Olotu Yakubu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress, APC in Gombe State, has flagged off campaigns for the 2023 general elections, with the national chairman of the party, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, presenting campaign flag to the APC governorship candidate. Governor Muhammadu Inuwa Yahaya. Emmanuel Akila reports that the party also received prominent politicians who defected from other political parties into the APC.
The All Progressives Congress APC mastering strategy and galvanizing supporters to go into the nooks and crannies in Gombe State to canvass for support towards victory come 2023 general elections. National chairman of the APC, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, leads national officials to support the party in Gombe State. After inauguration of the campaign council, Senator Adamu formally welcomed the campees into the APC, including former Deputy Governor of Gombe State, Charles Ilea, and the Gombe State governorship aspirant of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Jamilu Isiaka Gomna, and other members of the opposition party from across the state. The decampees are members of the APC who only visited other parties, but now they are back home. For Governor Muhammad Inuwa Yahaya, who will be seeking re-election in 2023, the performance of the APC, which he believes attracts decampees into the party, will speak for him.
We've been able to deliver on our promises. We've been able to deliver on our manifesto. 99.9% of what we promised would have achieved.
Party bigwigs from across the state and serving members of the National Assembly who are from Gombe State are confident that the party will be the party to beat in the general elections at all levels. In Gombe, Emmanuel Akila, NTA News.
And in Abuja, more political support groups have continued to endorse the presidential candidates of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Salihu Gwanawara has update on the activities of these groups.
The atmosphere in Nigeria is already dominated with political activities. One Nation for Asiwaju and Shetima is one of the active groups that is developing strategies to support the process of upholding the unity of Nigeria as captured in the APC manifesto.
If you have people marketing the product, it helps. So we are out to market Asiwaju Shetima ticket to Nigerians.
That's why we are calling on Nigerians to give their unflinching support overwhelmingly to Asiwaju Tinubu.
And for the Artisans and Technicians Directorate of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, there is hope for socio-economic sustainability in Tinubu's presidential agenda,
where they can increase the productivity of this country, increase employment in this country, thereby addressing the issue of insecurity.
And we can have more skilled artisans that are working in this sector to add value to the entire sector of activities and the economy empowerment of the country.
As the APC campaign train moves around the country, supporters have been reminded to focus on issue-based campaigns. In Abuja, Salihu Gwanawara, NTA News.
And still talking politics, Labour Party has expressed worry over consistent attacks on its members and destruction of campaign materials across the country. At a press conference in Abuja, spokesman of the campaign council, Yunusa Tanko, decried the situation, which he said has assumed a worrisome dimension. He said whereas some of the presidential candidates signed the peace accord, not much has been achieved in terms of peaceful campaigns, and urged Nigerians to resist those who want to turn the 2023 general elections to a do-or-die affair. The party listed Kebbi, Kaduna, Edo, Enugu, Ebonyi, and Lagos as some of the states with hostility, and called on the state government to allow opposition parties do their campaigns without molestation.
The law enforcement agencies of the challenges and the killing that is taking place. We are law-abiding people and we listen to the words of the agencies, but we are synergizing with them and letting them know what we are going through. Both in writing and physically, we are always being at the police stations to report incidences. But we are tired of reporting incidences, and it takes so long before action has been taken.
You're watching Weekend File on the network service of the NTA. Time for a break. Please stay.
Central Bank of Nigeria has announced the introduction of a new series of 200 Naira
500 naira and 1000 naira banknotes to be launched on December 15, 2022. These new banknotes will circulate side by side with the current 200 naira, 500 naira and 1000 naira banknotes, which will cease to be legal tender on January 31, 2023. Banks are now open from Monday to Saturday to accept customers' deposits. So, hurry to your banks to deposit only 200 naira, 500 naira and 1000 naira banknotes in your possession. To make it seamless, the CBN has suspended bank charges on all deposits made during this period, and there is no limit on how much an individual can deposit. Remember, the current 200 naira, 500 naira and 1000 naira banknotes remain legal tender until January 31, 2023. Do not reject it, but ensure the banknotes get to your bank before the deadline of January 31, 2023. The naira is our national pride. Let's embrace the new currency. This message is from the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN.
Fighting here and there, we don't want it at all. Killing people today, tomorrow, we don't want it at all. And we don't want separation. You do your own, I do my own. Take it, they go. No. We don't want that one.
We may quarrel and disagree, but let it be on the table of dialogue.
No blood, chaos, war,
violence. Let us stand with our nation as one people. And we must also stand for the armed forces. They are our husbands and wives. They are our brothers and sisters.
Please support the armed forces,
whose lives are always on the front line to protect our nation. Nigeria is your own. Nigeria is mine. Nigeria is our own. And uniqueness is in our oneness. Our oneness is our strength.
Every harmattan, he falls sick so frequently and misses school often. I keep him away from junk food.
He also feeds school apple. She said an apple a day keeps.
If you want to keep germs away, then use Dettol soap regularly. Germs and disease spread easily during harmattan. For this, use Dettol soap. Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol sure.
My people, my name is Emeka. Mekus Kamat. Let me get all this people. I don't learn my lesson. Somebody come buy motor for my hand, carry big money, come give me. Now when we get bust, then my eye open. I know to that 419 be. Now when EFCC grab them, now they come grab me too. Now he make me they warn you. All of them when they do business like me, where they carry big money, when I go sometimes I go carry transfer, carry bring back. They could shine on my eye because the special control unit against money laundering, what they call SCUMO, they don't want to say if the money pass 5 million naira for individual, no collect them. If it pass 10 million naira for company, no collect them. Can I go where? Bank. If you not do them like that, 250,000 naira for every day where this offense happen. Or they go suspend your license, or they go shut them down. Matter for your hand. No talk say I know one you.
This message is from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. EFCC.
The National Council of Traditional Rulers of Nigeria, under the chairmanship of His Eminence Alhaji Dr. Muhammad Sa'ad Abubakar, CFR MNI, the Sultan of Sokoto, and co-chaired by His Imperial Majesty Oba Dr. Adeyeye Eniton Ogunwusi Ojaja II, CFR, Oni of Ife, have approved the convocation of the 13th General Assembly with the theme Planning and Preparations Towards a Successful Conduct of the 2023 General Elections and Population Census. The expected roles of traditional rulers scheduled as follows. Date Monday, 12th December 2022. Venue, Nikon Luxury Hotel, Area 11, Getki, Abuja. Time, 11 a.m. Special guest of honor at the occasion is Professor Yemi Oshimbajo, GCON SAN, Vice President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, who will declare the event open, while Mr. Boss Gida Mustafa, CFR, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, will be the guest of honor. Among other guests, His Royal Highness Alhaji Dr. Yahaya Abubakar, CFR, Etsunupe, Chairman, Coordinating Committee.
Welcome back. In response to press inquiries on the issues raised in a viral video by Honorable Godaji Kazari, the presidency has reacted to the issues raised. Presidential Media Aide Garba Shehu, in a statement, notes that a committee on the alleged loss of stamp duty funds was dissolved on the directive of the president. Anyone familiar with our constitution, the statement notes, will find it curious that a member of the parliament is the secretary of an executive committee. It suffices to say that the entire net worth of the nation's financial sector, the assets of the banking sector, put together is not worth 50 trillion naira, not to talk of the kind of money being raised in the video. The statement further indicates that there is a committee duly set up by the President in June 2020, chaired by the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, and the Secretary is the Chairman of the Federal Internal Revenue Service, FIRS, that is currently reconciling the stamp duty account, and the job is not finished. As it is, there is nothing to give credence to wild accusations being made against the administration. And following speculation and the many allegations, earlier investigations were commissioned by government departments and agencies, including the Ministry of Finance, the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Service, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, and nothing sensational had been discovered by them, while issues of reconciliation are being handled. In other news, the Director General, Nigeria Television Authority, Salihu Abdulhamid Dembos, says NTA stations across the country would be repositioned to provide quality broadcast services. This was in his message to staff of NTA Yola. Rayanu Bala reports.
Television Authority NTA Yola, a premier television station in the defunct Gongola state, is out to provide broadcast services through its news coverages and programs production. The visit of the Director General of NTA, Salihu Abdulhamid Dembos, who was represented by the Executive Director Engineering, Dr. Stephen Opanaj Moses, is to assess facilities and structures at the station for necessary action. He said, NTA Yola will be provided with a digital transmitter to improve on its services.
Yola is one of the important and a very vital NTA station that we really need to revive and put it in the right perspective. So it is the desire of management to make Yola the state-of-the-art broadcast equipment in terms of transmission, in terms of content creation, and then in terms too to look at the environment and see how we can make the environment user friendly, and then in other words to motivate our staff to give us the best of the best.
Stephen Opanach Moses, who interacted with management and staff of the station, commended them for their productivity, saying efforts are on to reposition all NTA stations for greater efficiency. The acting general manager NTA Yola Bilkis Usman Borkono thanked the Director General for such a commitment to take NTA Yola to a greater height. In Yola, Rayanu Bala, NTA News.
As part of an event commemorating this year's International Human Rights Day, an awareness road walk on the protection and promotion of human rights has been staged by the National Human Rights Commission. Ameka Amarachuku tells us more.
These constitute major challenges to world leaders with decisive efforts to correct the injustice on the front border. Now, to commemorate International Day of Human Rights, the National Human Rights Commission is taking the campaign to the streets to preach on the sanity of human life.
We need to celebrate with Nigerians for this day, for an avenue of creation of the Human Rights Commission, so that people can come and lay their complaints and have somebody to listen to them. It calls for celebration. I know things are not at the best of it all, but there is hope. Every day there is improvement in our lives. Every day there is improvement in governance. Every day there is improvement in protection of human rights. So we are celebrating today because we are looking forward to even better protection of human rights in future.
The National Human Rights Commission is also promoting special messages to tell the Nigerians that every life matters, with a deep concern for humanity. In Abuja, Omenka Marachuku, NTA News.
Property believed to be worth millions of naira were destroyed following a fire outbreak at the corn oil filling station Area 10, Gariki, Abuja. Francisca Abila visited the scene of the incident and tells us more.
Tragedy struck as a tanker trying to discharge fuel into the underground tank in Corn Oil Filling Station, Area 10, Abuja, was gutted by fire. Eyewitnesses say a joint effort of the FCT Fire Service, Army Fire Service on the spot were able to contain the inferno from spreading.
We are here where the fire started. When the tanker came, they were offloading the fuel. But before we know, the driver of the trailer drove the truck and went inside the place. So we know fire.
Some good-spirited Nigerians were assisting the firefighters, which shows the unity among Nigerians.
2 cars got burnt at the other side over there, like 3 or 4 cars there. So the street guys tried to move one, but they couldn't.
Though the headquarters is very close to this place, but the response was very swift, and you can see several trucks of the fire service that's happened here, and we've been going back to refuel.
However, no life was lost, and efforts to speak with the various firefighters and the owner of the filling station proved abortive, as they were not disposed to speak at that time. In Abuja, Francisca Abila, NTA News.
Time for another break. Please stay.
If you want to become something, become a child again. Why be patient? If you must worry, don't worry about winning. Why worry about germs? When you come home, bring tales and stories. Why bring in germs?
Shield your families from germs. When Dettol is a part of every household bucket, then you and your family can stay protected from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Everyday use of Dettol keeps my loved ones protected.
In a third final in 20 years.
This out of this road, Yakata. Now you can get a GoTV decoder, your channel, and 1 month of GoTV Jolly for only 4,900 naira, and enjoy all the show-stopping games live from Qatar on GoTV.
They swore an oath to serve our fatherland and defend the people. They traded their freedom, comfortable homes, and mortgaged their lives on the battleground for our unity and peaceful living. These are the great, fearless, loyal, and committed Nigerian armed forces who risked their lives courageously to safeguard our borders. But in the line of duty, many never returned. Nigerians, arise, let's celebrate our fallen heroes. Put on the remembrance emblem with pride to support the incapacitated and families of our fallen heroes.
The occasion gives cause for reflection and reminds us of the sacrifice made by our armed forces in preserving the unity of the country.
All ministries, parastatals, religious and corporate bodies to donate generously to the Emblem Appeal Launch. Send your donations to this account. Account name, Emblem Appeal Launch. Account number 393-200-7526. EcoBank Nigeria PLC.
Welcome back. Given the importance of micro, small and medium enterprises to economic development, the federal government came up with various interventions in support of MSMEs in Nigeria. In this report, Moplang Dakok examines the policies and challenges and the way forward for promoting small-scale businesses in the country.
Over the years, the federal government of Nigeria has sustained entrepreneurial development through interventions by a multi-agency approach to fast-track economic growth. In 2021, the federal government established the Startup Bill, which was signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari in October 2022, aimed at providing an enabling environment for the establishment, development and operation of startups in Nigeria. Minister of Communication and Digital Economy Issa Pantami says government set up 10 billion naira investment fund for young innovators and has also made provision for incentives and tax holidays to encourage local innovators.
A lot has been achieved when it comes to providing the enabling environment for our young innovators. This law is all about to consolidate and to provide the legal and a strategic framework for the growth of the sector. For example, today in Africa, we have around 7 to 8 unicorns.
The program has since then been managed by the Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment with support from the African Development Bank and the Bank of Industry. Small businesses in Nigeria face a lot of challenges. Key among them is the right business environment and access to finance. To address these challenges, the federal government in March 2021 unveiled the revised national policy on micro, small and medium enterprises, whose implementation is being handled by the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency, SMEDAN. What results have been achieved?
The process has started. We've inaugurated the MD focal persons. We are going to inaugurate the Technical Implementation Committee and also the National Council on MSMEs, which is headed by the Vice President.
The MSME Survival Fund is another policy which was implemented by government to support vulnerable MSMEs. The scheme is estimated to save not less than 103 million jobs across the country and specifically impact more than 35,000 individuals in every state.
Recently, in the last 4 years, is the effort the government has made, generally maybe through grants or through maybe loan, which is the NISAL microfinance loan, and maybe the grant that was given to Nigerian Export Promotion Council, and the Survival Fund, which we thank God, but particularly we're beneficiaries of all.
Experts are of the view that the business space in Nigeria requires more transparency and accountability, and the numerous MSMEs policies need prompt implementation. In Abuja, Moplang Dakok, NTA News.
Many thanks, Moplang, for that background report. And joining me now in the studio is Chima Achu, an entrepreneur. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And I also have joining me in our Lagos Network studio, Obina Urakba. He's also an entrepreneur. Obina, thank you for joining us. I'll just quickly go to you, Obina. You've watched some of the reports from across the country and what stakeholders are saying. What is the immediate concern as far as MSMEs are concerned? And we're talking about the Startup Investment Fund, which you heard in that particular report. What exactly does the government intend to achieve with this new intervention?
I would say that rather than concerns, I'm actually excited that the startup bill that is now an act signed into law by the president on October 19. Now, there are 3 challenges that MSMEs face, whether it is in the digital space or in just about any sector. Micro, small and medium enterprises face 1, access to ideas generation, being able to come up with ideas that would drive their entrepreneurship aspiration. And number 2 is access to finance. Number 3 is access to markets. Now, the Startup Act is trying to drive the issue of access to finance. Now, I like the fact that a system and a structure has been put in place to ensure that the government is involved. So it's a co-creation regulation by the ecosystem, the operators of the ecosystem, which is very interesting. Usually what you would have before now is a top-down approach where the government makes the law, and then the operators in the system begin to battle with how to relate and engage with that particular law. So what I would say is that a lot of excitement in the space. It's exciting to see that the Ministry of Digital Economy and Communication has worked with NITDA, which is the agency that will serve as secretariat for this, to ensure that there are pathways for MSMEs, especially in the digital space, startups, to be able to give physical manifestation and expression to their aspirations and their innovations. Now, it's exciting to see also that it has been taken so seriously that the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is going to serve as the chairperson of the council, supported by the Vice President, a no mean personality, and then of course next in line the Minister for Communication and Digital Economy himself. That's very serious. And then in the absence of the President and the Vice President, the Minister kicks in to superintend over the policy guidelines to ensure that this sees the light of day. Now, the interesting thing here is that every year, a minimum of $10 billion is going to be made available for the 10 billion naira to be made available for young startups to access. Now, to access it has a pattern. They would need to satisfy certain conditions, and all of that is outlined.
All right, thank you very much, Obina. Of course, we'll get back to you on the conditions that the startups need to fulfill to be part of this initiative, talking about the Startup Investment Fund. I'll quickly come to you, Chima, right here in the studio. You heard Obina talking about the excitement about the Startup Investment Fund. Policies are always very lofty until it's time for implementation. What exactly do you think the federal government should do as regards this particular initiative, just so that it can meet its mandate?
All right, thank you. The truth is that there is always, a difference between when a policy statement is made and probably the policy output itself. It's a welcome idea that the federal government, led by the president, quickly signed that startup bill into an act. And it's also the first time we are seeing, ecosystem players, being part and parcel of, the evolution of the bill itself into an act. So it's a welcome idea, it's a welcome development. At least input were made by the players themselves. So on account of that, you can give that credit to the government for considering that. However, I strongly believe that, there is, when it has to do with government, there is always a disconnect between policy statement and policy outcome. And in between is the missing link. Now, it's a wonderful idea, 10 billion naira annually for innovators and, tech players, tech enthusiasts, and, other tech major players. But when you begin to look at the implementation, like Obina was just trying to talk about the conditions for drawdown, how these funds will eventually get down to the innovators, within the ecosystem that actually needs these funds. That is where what affects other government policies or programs before now comes to the fore. So that is where we need to begin to look at. We begin to, hold regulators accountable, key players within the system accountable to make sure that the fund trickles down to the real beneficiary, the right people that should get the funding.
Okay, yes. Good. I'm going to actually get back to Obina, but I'm sure that will be after the break. Well, let's talk about, all the different interventions for MSMEs in the country at the moment. There are quite a number of them. How can we actually achieve harmony, with these interventions? Because it looks like, certain groups are getting something different from what other groups are getting. How can we actually harmonize, what, MSMEs are getting from the federal government in terms of interventions?
Yeah, it's not a bad idea for government to intervene, especially in critical sectors. And when you look at the tech ecosystem, is unique in its own ranking, because that is what drives the economy at the moment. And it's only smart for government to have keyed in, because as it is, it's just the right way to go. Because when you begin to look at the role the ecosystem plays, the tech ecosystem plays in driving business or MSMEs in Nigeria, you also see that it's something that whether we like it or not, we can't be left behind with the rest of the world. Times are changing, innovation.
And we need to focus on tech.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you very much. I would come back to this conversation, but let's quickly take this report. Interventions like entrepreneurship training, empowerment scheme, and reasonable codified tax system stimulated by both the federal and state governments are assisting small businesses operators to boost their development plans. But limited access to funding options is slowing down the progress. This is why the operators are suggesting that specific grants should be designed to boost the growth of the subsector. Michael Olaleye has details.
Here is one of the reasons why Lagos State remains the most attractive business destination in Nigeria. A ready-made population strength, coupled with the presence of many financial institutions, amplified the record of having an impressive percentage out of the 39.6 million micro, small and medium-sized enterprises in Nigeria. 11,666 small businesses are captured in the data domiciled with the Lagos State Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Cooperatives, and Olubukola Shonde is a major player adding values through job creation.
It's a new business actually, and I have about 10 women working with me presently.
Titi Smith has an online presence, but nurses setting reservation.
Every business needs money for expansion. But you can't just expand without having people that would patronize you.
Her worry with that of others on growing businesses in the face of financial constraints will definitely disappear, with the federal government spearheading a registry that opens the analog and digital space for reach.
We also demonstrated the online component through our website. So people, apart from physically seeing the product, people from all over the world can access this document and be able to call each of them, contact each of them to buy their products all over the world.
All other variables like ease of business registration and amendments to Company and Allied Matters Act remaining constant nationwide.
You also have a reasonable level of codified tax system in Lagos, so that they are not subject to all sorts of taxes that could be a constraining factor or could work against their business success.
The consensus going forward is that since small businesses remain the vocal point of addressing youth unemployment and promoting income generation by government, more actions should be taken in strengthening their presence. In Lagos, Michael Olaleye, NTA News.
Many thanks, Michael. And then we go back to Lagos, where Obina is at the moment, and of course, speaking to us on this topic. Obina, if you can hear me, you were talking about the conditions required, from entrepreneurs to benefit from this particular scheme. Could you tell us about that? And then, how do you think that the federal government and the entrepreneurs themselves have handled, repayment plans? I'm talking about other interventions that have been in place before this new one.
About criteria for drawdown for accessing the funds. Any MSME, any startup that has at least been in operation for at least 10 years and below is qualified to apply. Now, the interesting thing here is that you must go through a process of labeling, and that is going to be handled by the NITDA. Now, NITDA is an arm of the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy. Now, having satisfied that condition, any MSME qualifies to access that funding. Now, there is also the other benefit, talking about the startup seed fund. The other benefits include tax holiday. This also extends to the investors. It extends to potential investors. Now, they also stand to enjoy such benefits as the tax holidays that they can enjoy from NIPC, Pioneer Status Incentives, which can only be granted by the NIPC, Nigerian Investment Promotion Council. Now, this is to encourage investors, angel funders to invest their money in startups. Like I said earlier on, the major challenge that MSMEs have is access to finance. And with this Startup Act, and then with this enabling environment being created, especially with the 10 billion naira fund, seed fund, and with the conditions for drawdown. Once the conditions have been satisfied, these startups stand the opportunity to access these funds. Now, the challenge, like I began to raise earlier on, would be that the regulators do not make it too difficult and stringent for these startups to access these funds. And when they finally also access it, I will also say that those who have accessed it, ensure to pay back. This also has been a challenge that many other agencies like NASA Microfinance Bank and a few other agencies like Trade and Investment, we talked about Survivor Fund and a few other intervention funds that government has given. The issue of integrity and character on the part of those who have benefited to pay back when they're supposed to pay back, so that others can benefit also. So it's a to every right there is a corresponding obligation. It's expected that whoever gets to access this startup fund ensures that to grow the ecosystem, they strive to pay back, fulfill the conditions so that others can benefit also.
Thank you so much, Obina Urakwa, for joining us on Weekend File tonight. Many thanks for your thoughts. I think we'll leave it at that point with you. So we'll just quickly conclude with Fatima Achu right here in the studio. You followed what Obina has said, as regards, this particular fund and why it's a good one and the conditions required from entrepreneurs. I quickly like to find out from you, what do you think entrepreneurs should do so that they can be properly guided as regards fraudulent sites, or I can see so many things on the internet about this startup, and the federal government is saying it's fake. How do you think entrepreneurs should be properly guided so they don't fall into the hands of those fraudsters?
Well, these issues around, having fraudulent sites is something that is, it happens everywhere. Myself, I bought something for $45 somewhere in UK last year, and it happened to be for a fake site. Eventually, they didn't deliver the goods to me. So it's not something that is peculiar to Nigeria, but the truth is that it requires integrity. If you are going to equity, you must go with clean hands. When you are seeking for funding, especially from government, you should have the right papers, keep your good books, accounting books that will enable you to assess the funding you are looking at, and also make sure issues that requires, regulations, your taxes, all the relevant documents are intact, You keep your books very well in such a way that, even when an investor wants to invest in your business or your company, it will be easy to look at your, documents on the merit of it and decide whether they want to put their funds or not. So it's something that requires, carefulness on the part of the entrepreneurs.
All right, carefulness on the part of the entrepreneurs. That's a great advice. Many thanks, Chima Achu, for joining us on Weekend File.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so we'll take another break. Please remain tuned.
This is the moment we've been waiting. It's time to rise up, do it again. Africa, do your dance now. Brother, do your winning dance now. So we never lose it again. We gon' rise up, yes, we gon' rise up, we gon' rise up. We gon' rise up, yes, we gon' rise up, we gon' rise up.
Let's have a bit of sports now as Morocco makes it to the next round of the World Cup.